Hey guys, welcome back to Throttle On. This is Molly, and today we're going to be reviewing this 2013 Suzuki TU250X. Okay, so this is the 2013 Suzuki TU250X in black. And the stripe actually that we have on it right here was put on by the previous owner, so that typically doesn't come with how this bike looks. So one of the cool features about this bike is its helmet lock right here. That's pretty neat. It does have pegs, so if you want to bring someone along, you can. It has a very nice back seat. In fact, the front seat is nice as well. It's very soft, it's very comfortable to sit on. The pipe on this is very nice in my opinion. It's a very nicely laid out bike. The tires are pretty small. I really do like how the front is laid out. There's a very nice big light. Turn signal lights are kind of neat. Has a very classic look. These mirrors are actually not the original mirrors that are on this bike. These are the mirrors we put on. Overall, it's a very nice riding, nice looking, just very nice motorcycle. It's easy to ride. It's very great for a beginner especially. So this bike has a very classic looking speedometer. One thing is it doesn't have a fuel gauge, instead it has a fuel light, so when you're running low, that light will go ahead and just turn on. How you know you're neutral is actually light on this side, and the speedometer, instead of being electric, it's actually an analog. Another thing is you don't have your tachometer on here. It's something you just kind of have to listen for to know around when you should probably stop pulling this back, or when you should shift. It's probably about the same size as the Grom. Well, seat height wise. It's an all-around great bike just to ride around town. It's very easy to maneuver. Hey guys, this is a Suzuki TU250X, and this is sort of what it sounds like. Start T. So the style we're looking at is a standard bike. I'm sitting really up and down right now. Not a lot of leanage going forward. It's a really low set bike. Like with me being flat foot, my knees are bent. I would say it's about the same seat height as the Grom. So this is a 250. It's a standard bike that Suzuki still makes. This is a 2013 version. It's air cooled, it's fuel injected, it's a single cylinder, and so comparing it to the other 250 that I've ridden on, which is the CBR 250, the power or the gears are placed different. So like the first gear on this bike goes a whole lot faster than the first gear on the CBR, which is weird to me because this one's fifth gear's power is like negative. If you're trying to get up a hill and this one's fifth gear, you might as well just be in fourth. This bike has a lot more lower end gear power. To get any speed on this bike, you're really looking at having to have a lot more higher RPMs, because it's just not naturally a fast bike. It's a lot slower. It's not really made for top-notch speeds or anything. This bike's great for just driving around town, like if you have a small commute in like an urban area. I mean, it's really great. It's easy to maneuver. It's not necessarily something you want to take on the highway because it doesn't go super fast or cannot consistently stay fast. The fastest we've got this bike to is 75 miles per hour, and it's just not going to be able to get up to the speeds you're going to need for the highway, but it's definitely a great bike if you're just riding around town or just have a small commute. It's a nice bike for that. Another thing about it is it's very lightweight. So if you're a smaller person or you're just not looking for something too big, this is a really great bike for that, because it's really easy to maneuver and it doesn't weigh a lot. It's a really nice bike. The seat's very comfortable. It being up and down, you're not looking at a whole lot of having to lean too much on your turns. It's just very easy to maneuver. It's a great bike for beginners, especially if you're looking for a standard style. This one's really something that could be beneficial for you. A standard type bike is definitely a very good type of bike to get for someone who's new to motorcycle riding. What's especially neat about this bike is a lot of manufacturers aren't still making a 250 that's a standard version, so that's very neat that Suzuki still makes these types of bikes. I like how this bike has a classic looking speedometer. It doesn't have a tachometer, it just has an analog speedometer on it, which I find kind of neat, although it's kind of inconvenient not to be able to see your RPMs. It's like an old school analog trip meter, which is really neat actually. I don't know, I find that look kind of interesting considering that it's 2013, which is not a very old bike. You still kind of get that older look. And actually this stripe we have on the gas tank isn't normally there. The previous owner actually put that on there. Yeah, when we bought this bike it had like 1,300 miles on it. You can usually pick up one of these bikes for around $2,500 or $2,000 range. They're not necessarily very expensive bikes and they're great to learn on. But if you're looking at a new one, you're looking at about $5,000. So, I mean, they are great bikes though. Well, at least in my experience, they are a little bit harder to find used. We were pretty lucky finding this one in our area. But if you can find one used, it's typically not a bad idea to get one. They're pretty fun. What else are we looking at? Feel it too much, or at least not as much as you would on like a CBR or something like that. Another thing, when you're going at these fast speeds, is it heavier than the CBR? I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. For some reason I feel like it's easier. I think the wind's died down though. I think that's just it. So riding at higher speeds on this bike, you're definitely getting a lot of wind. It's pretty cold. You don't really have a windshield or anything to sort of protect you from that. But riding at these higher speeds, it's pretty smooth. I'm not having a lot of trouble doing anything. It's honestly a pretty nice little ride. Something else to know about this bike is the acceleration is not very great, especially compared to like the CBR. It's nothing super special. It's kind of slow. I mean, you go a lot faster in first gear than you do on most bikes in my opinion, but it's not like it gets there quick, you know? I don't know, it's kind of a weirdly geared bike. The lower gears you're in, probably the faster it goes. Because getting into fifth gear, you're not really getting a lot of speed. You're probably better off in fourth gear on this bike. So once you're in fourth or fifth gear, you're probably looking at only going like 55 miles per hour pretty comfortably for the bike. So you're probably not going to be able to take this on the highway or anywhere. Like, it's just not something that's going to be able to keep up with traffic. One thing though is the seat is super comfortable. Like, sitting on this, it's great. It's very, very comfortable to ride on. Last mileage on this bike. It holds about 3 gallons worth of gas, and you're probably getting on the upper side of 70 miles per gallon on this bike. So you're definitely looking at a cheap fill up, which is nice. So even though you can't take this bike on the highway or anywhere that you need to go super fast, it's definitely a nice bike if you want to go on a cruise for the day on some backcountry roads. It's definitely really nice to just cruise around on. So the acceleration is pretty slow, as you can see. I just started off. It was kind of a weird start because I didn't get to fully stop, but it's kind of a little bit slow. So I got it up to about 65 right there because it's kind of a weird start, but it's just naturally not meant to go very fast. It doesn't accelerate very quickly. It's definitely not a race type bike. You're just looking at just a standard old motorcycle that's good for some cruising. Very comfortable there. So with this bike's sound, it definitely has like a deeper sort of you can hear it like rev up right there, especially in the lower rev ranges. You're hearing more of just like a guttural sound, you know, compared to like the CBR. It's not as high, it's sort of just like a lower, I don't know, it's not as loud, it's not as annoying, it's just a nice sound in my opinion. It sounds like a motorcycle should. It's very nice. So one thing about this bike is going at the speeds that we're kind of going at right now, it's just not as peppy, or it's just not as good at riding at those higher speeds as the CBR. And if you want to learn more about that bike, we actually have made a video on that previously if you want to go check that out. Also, in an upcoming video, we're actually going to be reviewing a dual sport bike, which is the CR250 Rally that Honda makes, and y'all should go check that out too. Guys, so this is going to wrap up the review for the 2013 Suzuki TU250X, and go ahead and check out our review over the CBR 250 Honda on our channel, and our next review is going to be over the CR 250 Rally bike, which is a dual sport. So we're trying to do some new bikes for y'all. Comment down below and tell us which bike's your favorite. Give us some more suggestions on bikes you'd like to see us do. We've been trying to do some beginner bikes for y'all. We have a couple more that we're going to do some reviews on, so just tell us what you want to see, and make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you. This is going to wrap up the review for the 2013 Suzuki. So much to this one. Okay. Thanks for watching. Throttle on.